welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron trilogy, reformatting Galvatron. So this is a Hasbro Pulse exclusive pack. Overall it's very, very cool. Comes with actually some brand new pieces. So it comes with 3 brand new ships, the Revenge ship, the Junkion ship, and the Quintesson ship, which is very, very cool. Of course, I will be showing this in the review very soon. It also does come with like 14 brand new, really cool little minifigs, like the ones that came in the Arc and HasLab Unicron. So of course the Arc came with a little Optimus, and HasLab Unicron came with a Rodimus and a Galvatron. There's tons of them. There's like RC, Cyclonus, Scourge, tons of them, of course, which I will show in the review very soon. And the figure itself is the exact same sculpt as Kingdom Galvatron and Selects Galvatron. Of course, he has a brand new color scheme, kind of like a glow-in-the-dark sort of blueprint vibe, which looks really cool. With all that out of the way, let's take a look at the packaging. So here we have the packaging, and of course it does take a lot of inspiration from the HasLab packaging. The HasLab Unicron packaging was mostly done in gray, a little bit of white, of course, and had lots of details, of course. This pack was actually supposedly rumored to be the unlocked tiers from HasLab Unicron, which of course were never reached because there was not enough backers. So they're kind of just re-releasing it now, and I think it looks really cool. So we have Unicron there, we have Galvatron, of course, so we have the Behold Galvatron Unicron companion pack in writing there. That looks really cool. We have Transformers, we have an Autobot logo, and a Takara Tomy logo. And on the side it kind of is a continuation of the robot itself. We have another Autobot symbol there. On the back, pretty plain. On the top, we have War for Cybertron logo. We have a planet. We do have several figures kind of floating around space. I think that's Galvatron there. Might be a Bumblebee or something kind of floating around there. It looks pretty cool. On the inside, there is some more artwork. Of course, I won't be showing that right now because it's a little bit hard to show in this display right now. But I did show it in the unboxing video. So if you want to have a more in-depth view of the packaging, I did show that in the unboxing video. I'll link that video in the description down below. So let's get into the review right now. So here we have some of the accessories. So let's take a look at them. We're going to start with the 3 ships this set includes. So first up we have the really cool Revenge ship, which interesting enough, some of these ships actually do have some rubber on them, which I did not know. I was actually very surprised when I learned that in the unboxing. If you saw my reaction, I was quite surprised and interested because I thought for a second, since this has been, I thought it was broken or bent during shipping, but this is just rubber, so you could easily bend that right back. This is these 2 engine pieces are also made of rubber, but this main section here is plastic, so some of it is rubber and some of it is plastic. Also, if you do have HasLab Unicron, it does come with a stand, so you can use this little area here to plug it into place. Also, if you have like a flight stand like I do, you can plug that in to look like, of course, it's flying. I don't have HasLab Unicron, which is unfortunate. I kind of do wish maybe this set did come with that stand, but I actually might try and buy that stand loose on eBay. Hopefully I can. Who knows? If you do know someone who's selling that stand just loose without Unicron or anything, I would love to know where I could get that. That'd be really, really cool. Next up we have the really cool Quintesson ship, a very abstract, interesting looking ship, mostly made of silver and yellow. There's no plastic pieces on this at all, which is pretty cool. Overall, very cool ship. And also there is that little port there where you can put in a flight stand and make it look like it's flying. I actually will post some pictures in the intro of that. You also have the really cool Junkion ship, which is a very odd ship. So these little wing pieces are rubber, so they are kind of bent a little bit. I will make sure to bend those back to a right angle after this video. But overall, very cool. Nice silver, nice sculpting and detailing. You can kind of make out some little areas of the ship. The engines, of course, maybe that's like the bridge there. There's some towers and stuff. Overall, that looks pretty cool. And pretty plain on the bottom, but of course, there's that little port there where you can use that flight stand. Of course, these next accessories we have gotten all with the previous 2 versions of this mold. Of course, we have the classic fusion cannon, so it has this really nice pink for this really cool barrel section. Very see-through. I think that looks really, really cool. And of course we have this really nice white and purple deco here on the very beginning of the can. I think that looks really cool. I really think it reminds me of kind of a glow-in-the-dark sort of vibe. It looks really cool, really outlines the details. I think it looks really, really cool. Of course, we do have the Matrix leadership. So this accessory is kind of interesting because, of course, if you've watched the 1986 movie, spoiler alert, I think most people have by now, but in that scene, he does not have the Matrix of leadership yet, so this accessory is kind of an odd thing to have on this figure, but of course, they just included it because the previous 2 versions of this mold had this, so you could use your imagination and say this is like the reformatting Matrix of leadership if you wanted to, or just consider it's the same one. Who knows? Of course, exact same sculpt as the Chain and Matrix as the other 2, just, of course, it's done in complete purple, but overall, I think it looks pretty cool. cool. And of course we have the two bigger full-size Revenge ships, which I think look pretty cool. Again, same sculpt as the other ones that came with the other two, just of course done in purple, but overall very, very cool. So here is some of the accessories. Now let's take a look at the many little minifigures that this set comes with. We have all 14 little minifigures or little mini action figures here, so I won't be individually picking these up and showing you them, because most likely you won't be able to see them in my hands, because I have very big hands and these things are really, really tiny. I'm just going to leave them like this and I'll go through all the characters that you get. Unfortunately, they are not painted at all, which is really unfortunate. I kind of wish maybe they had just painted them all like one kind of distinctive color, so like, you know, RC would be pink, Cup would be like blue or gray, you could leave them gray, Grimlock would be mostly like red. I kind of wish they did that, kind of like with the Arc, you got an Optimus and he was just fully red. I think they could have done that with this and I would be perfectly fine with that. So let's go through the list. So first up, we have Scourge. We're going to start on this side. We have Dirge, we have Ultramagnus, we have Swoop, we have Slag or Slug, we have Grimlock, we have Snarl, we have Perceptor, then we have Soundwave, then we have RC, we have Megatron, then we have Cyclonus, then we have Starscream, then we have Cup. So we have 14 of these. Hopefully I didn't go too fast, but overall these figures look pretty cool. I advise extreme caution when displaying these because they are so tiny. So if you vacuum and they're on the floor, they're gone immediately. They're super tiny. Just if you want a size comparison, I mean, here is the Quintesson ship and here is all those 14. So this thing is quite big compared to those. But yeah, so I would advise extreme caution with these. 14 is pretty cool. Again, I really do wish that they had painted them. I know they're very tiny, so it's very hard to make out any small tiny details, but still it is pretty cool that you have some miniature versions of all the classic characters that you know and love. So that's pretty much it for all the accessories that came in this pack. There's a lot of them, so very cool. Now let's get into reformatting Galvatron himself. Here we have reformatting Galvatron in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. We're going to start at the very top. So for the head, we have some really nice dark purple for the main helmet section and the crest. That looks pretty good. We have some nice white for the eyes. Of course, we have a nice kind of gloss on the face. Makes it look really shiny and smooth. That looks pretty good. I do like how you can pick out, of course, the nose, the mouth, and the eyes, and the chin. That looks pretty good. Of course, we have some more of that white outlining on the side of the face. That looks pretty good there. And of course, that is pretty much all their figures, so I will unfortunately be repeating that a lot. Though of course, we have some more on these big pieces there next to the shoulders on the arm. Some more on the arm, some nice dark purple there. Of course, some more light purple mixture on the lower part of the arm. Of course, some nice see-through purple for the hands. So I do want to let you know, I did, of course, unbox the figure if you watched that video. This figure did come with one of the hands popped off. There is no cracks or chips or anything with it. It's perfectly fine. It's that hand right there, and as you can see, it looks perfectly fine. I just want to let you know, if you do end up buying this figure, it could happen to you. Maybe it was just me, who knows, but it's perfectly fine. I was easily able to pop it back on, and there's no problems. And it's not loose or anything, so that's good. Let's move to the rest of the details of the figure. We have some nice Decepticon symbol on the front of the chest there. Of course, some more lines there. That looks really good. And of course we have the 4 classic squares that we see, of course, with the Selects and the original Kingdom Galvatron. And I think that looks pretty good. And let's move down lower to the legs and the crotch section. Some more nice dark purple, a little bit of black here and there. Of course, we have the little hip skirts, which are pretty cool. Of course, you can move those to have more of a dynamic pose if you wanted to. And I really do like all these lines on the top or knee section of the legs. That looks really good. It gives a lot of detail, really makes the purple pop, and the white looks really good contrasting. It looks amazing in my opinion. And of course, the feet are a little bit plain, really just kind of semi-clear purple plastic thing. I think that looks really cool. And I really do like, if we just move the camera up just a little bit, I really do like how they did the treads. I like how the wheels are done in white, and of course the main tread section is done in purple. And of course there's an actual wheel on there that can roll. Of course that is for the actual alt mode, the cannon mode, which I will of course transform into in just a second. So overall, I think the details of this figure look really cool. It is really just 2 colors, or 3 I guess. There's kind of a dark shade of purple, a light shade of purple, and some white, and I think it looks amazing. Yes, very simple, kind of repeating details that I've said, but I think it looks really good for reformatting Galvatron. The first one I think they've ever made. They did make an RED reformatting Megatron, but of course that figure did not transform, and I don't think RED is a very good line of my opinion, I've watched several reviews, and it was not a very good figure, so I think this is probably your best bet for reformatting Megatron or Galvatron figures. So very, very cool details. Let's get into the implementation of all of the accessories, so let's get right into that. Let's get into how all the accessories incorporate into the robot mode. So we're going to start off with the two really cool Revenge ships. So as you can see, I already did start with one on there. I think that looks so. I usually really don't store the blasters that way. Usually I just have them in his hand. Of course, I will show you that in just seconds. But of course, you can store it on the back like that if you want to add some extra height to the figure, if you want him to be a little bit more bulky and chunky, and if you don't want him to hold them in his hand, have his hands a little bit more free so he can punch some Autobots. So I will show you how to do it with the other ones. You just move back here and there is a tab. And there is a slot on the blaster there, and you can just plug that right into place. So just plug that in right there. Exactly the same way you stored them on the previous two versions of this mold, the Selects and the Kingdom, which I will bring out for comparison in just a second. So there we go. So not my favorite way of storage. Of course, storage, storage is storage, so I do not complain whenever we get something like that. Not the worst way, but not my personal favorite. So let's get into the second way that you can store these two blasters. So let's just take them off his back like that. Like, there we go. So one way you can just kind of plug them into his hand just like that to dual wield the pistols if you want to, or blasters, which I think looks okay. Unfortunately, it does carry that same problem that the previous two versions have, is that they're very loose. As you can see, I can just easily move them and they can just pop right out. The pegs are not long enough for them to stay in his hands very securely, which is quite unfortunate. But, if you just leave it there, it's fine. If you just want to have a display, just put it on the shelf and leave it there, it's fine. If you start messing around with it, it could pop off. The other way you can store the blasters is if you just take these out of his hand. You can just plug these together, which of course the other figures of this mold can do the same. You can just plug that into his hand, so you can have, of course, the combined Revenge ship gun, whatever you want to call it. Which looks pretty cool, but again, it does have that loose problem of it being able to pop out of his hand. But again, not a big problem in my opinion. So now moving on to the next two accessories, he comes with a really cool Matrix chain, or reformatting Matrix of Leadership. And the chain is a solid piece of plastic, so you cannot bend it, which of course the other two versions of this mold were the exact same way. And the sculpt of the Matrix is the exact same, of course, just done completely in dark purple. Now, of course, to the last accessory, the really cool fusion cannon, or big arm cannon. I think that looks really, really cool. Nice pink for the really cool barrel, and some nice dark purple and white outlining. Probably my favorite accessory. So there is two ways you can store this really cool accessory. So there's two ports there which you can plug into the top one or the lower one. So if you want it lower on the arm and it to reach further in an action pose, you can do that. And if you want it a little bit further away from the ground like that, you can do that. And this is usually how I store it, like the other two versions of this figure. I think that looks pretty cool. I do want to give props to this figure because there is a much tighter connection between the cannon and the arm, because my previous two copies, the Selects and the Kingdom one, they were very loose, and many times when I was fiddling with those figures, the cannon would just kind of pop off just randomly. It didn't happen very much with this figure. That has not happened at all, not even once. So that is very good. And I can show you how you can do that with the lower peg, so just wiggle that off there like that, and then plug that into place. So if you want it a little bit lower, you can do that. So it will extend a little bit further out so you can blast some Autobots. And those two ports are also on the other arm as well. So very, very cool. So those are the accessories, looking very, very nice. So let's get into some comparisons. Here we have all three versions of this mold next to each other. We have the Selects, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive reformatting Galvatron, and the Kingdom Wave 3 original version of this mold, the Kingdom Galvatron. So very, very cool. All three of these figures are very good figures. I think probably my least favorite is the Selects one. It's not a bad figure, just the stickers were, of course, the main attraction of the figure. A lot of people were really looking forward to putting them on. I think most people were. Some people do not like stickers, kind of like me. I was going to put them on, but when I did, it did not work at all. A lot of them did not even make it onto the figure. A lot of them stuck to the sheets and just did not last at all, which is unfortunate. But overall, it's a good figure. Highly recommend to get it. Probably my favorite is the Kingdom Wave 3 Galvatron. An amazing figure. I was really wanting a Galvatron for so long because I had that Tyrant's Return version, and it was a terrible figure. Again, Definitely recommend to get all these three. They are the exact same sculpt, the exact same accessories. As you can see, the Revenge ships can all do that same feature. They have the Matrix chain, all different colors, and the Fusion cannon is all different. We have a nice orange there, a really bright orange, and a pink for that cannon. And the overall just color scheme is completely different. The nice kind of retro old one, the classic, and the really cool reformatted Galvatron from the old 1986 movie. So, very, very nice. So let's take these off to the side. I'm going to get one more comparison with his former self. His former self being, of course, Transformers, Earthrise, Megatron. Looking very, very cool next to each other. Of course, they do share some similar aspects. Of course, the signature cannon on the arm, very classic for both Galvatron and Megatron. Very similar aspect that we know and love and always will remember of Megatron and Galvatron. So two pretty cool figures. This one's a little bit older, from about a year ago, and this one's a very new figure. Two figures I highly recommend. So that's pretty much it for comparisons. Let's get into articulation, then transformation. So now let's get into transformation. Let's start at the very top with the arms. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you have the tread pieces untabbed from the shoulders, because you're going to need those to be untabbed for a step later. So you're going to fold in the hands. You're going to fold in, of course, on this side too. There is a tab and a slot at the shoulders. So you're just going to tab that into place just like that. So do the same thing at the other side. Just tab that in just like that. There we go. You're going to bring in the tread, just fold that down, and of course, whenever we have it fully transformed, you can angle this to however you wish. Bring in the tread on the other side as well, and there we go. So now the arms are all fully transformed and ready. You can untab this section here, just like that. So there we go. And how this was secured is there was a slot and a tab like that, and as you can see there is another tab there that will just go right into this piece right here. Of course, same thing on this other assembly on the other side. Now let's move to the legs. So we're going to untab these sections here. There is a tab that goes into the slot right there, and there is a slot and a tab right there. And they're going to wrap this around, and there is a tab and a slot, and that will just plug right into place. Same thing on the other side, just plug that into place. Bring in the heel spurs, rotate these to the side, and we're not going to tab them in just yet. Then you're going to make sure these little hip skirt pieces are facing forward so they're not in the way. So now let's move back to the top. We're going to want to bring this assembly down. You're going to bring this section out, open this section here, and then you're going to bring in the head just like that. So just bring that in, and then close it. And then what you're going to want to do is bring this down, and while you're doing that, you're going to bring this assembly forward and then bring the legs back as well. So just kind of do that all at the same time, and then you can go back here, tab the legs together, which can be very secure, and then there is tabs on the legs themselves and slots on this piece on the inside. So just bring that forward, secure that into place. And then we can go to the front and bring this section on top, tab that in, and then there is a slot here and a slot on the inside of that piece, and of course there is a tab there and a tab there, and then that will just secure right into place. So just secure that like that, tab this into place, which can be very tight sometimes. There we go. Just kind of straighten that out. There we go. Do the same thing on the other side. Tab that into place. Tab that into place. Hopefully you heard those connections. They're very secure and tight, which is definitely an improvement, because when I got the first Kingdom one, on one side, this assembly here would not tab in. There was a tab, of course. It didn't like break off or anything, and it looked perfectly fine. It just wouldn't say, which is, it's much better on this copy. Next, you want to bring this whole assembly down, bring this out. And again, you can kind of angle this to however you wish. You could have it a little bit further facing up, or a little bit more neutral facing level. But that overall looks pretty cool. Of course, we are not done yet, so we can get the big cannon section or barrel section. Separate that, plug that into place, go back here, and then you can just plug that on top. So here is the just classic neutral cannon. Of course, you can attach those revenge ships and the Matrix leadership onto here and on the sides, and I can show that in just a second. Let's take a look at the details and articulation of the cannon. Articulation for the turret mode, it's pretty simple. Of course, the exact same as the other two versions of this mold. So for these main sections here, they can hinge back and forth, which is pretty cool. This section can hinge in and out as well, so you can get into some pretty dynamic poses. You can have it face, of course, more up, more down, or just more neutral like this. This back section here can hinge back and forth, and there's also this section here which can hinge back and forth as well. And that is pretty much it. There is some wheels on this section here, and here there's one on each, and there's two back on this section here, so it can roll pretty well. This is a cloth surface, so there is some grab, so it doesn't roll as well on this surface, but if you had a flat table, it would roll very, very good. So now let's get into all the storage for all the accessories. So we already have one on there, the main fusion cannon section. There's the barrel and that little other piece right there. So now we have the matrix of leadership and the chain. So this can just go over it, and there is a notch right there, and there is a tab, of course, and that will just go right into place, just like that. So, if you watch my other reviews, you know my feelings that it doesn't really make sense to have the changes facing down. I kind of wish it maybe had faced forward. I think that would look a little bit better than facing down, but it is a solid piece of plastic, so can't really change that. I kind of just maybe wish they sculpted it so, or had a hinge in there, so you could maybe change the direction, have it face forward. I think that would look better. And of course we have the two revenge ships, which I usually typically do not store on the cannon mode because it does cover quite a bit of the details that I like to see, but I will show you anyway. It actually does use the exact same tabs that we have used in the robot mode, so there is, of course, some slots and that tab right there, so if we just get it, we can plug those right on into place, just like that. And if we grab the other one, of course we can just tab that into place like that, and there we have the fully equipped cannon mode, which looks pretty cool. Yeah, I typically don't store them on there. I think it gets a little too cluttery in my opinion, but overall looks pretty cool for a video. I think it looks pretty cool. So very, very nice. That's all the storage wise. So let's get in one quick comparison, and that will be pretty much it. Here he is with Select Galvatron. As you can see, they're the exact same sculpt, exact same steps, exact same transformation. They're very, very similar. Of course, just the entire color scheme is completely different. This is more retro. Of course, I don't have the stickers on there because they really didn't work out. And of course, this is the reformatting Galvatron, mostly purple and a little bit of pink, and of course, white lines all over it. I think it looks really, really cool. So, two very cool tanks or turrets, what are we going to call them? Very, very cool figures. Highly recommend them. So let's move Select Galvatron off to the side, and we're going to quickly take a look at the details, because this figure is really just all one color, a little bit of white, and of course some pink. So we have pink for the turret section, some really nice details, really, really cool treads or tank wheels, what do you want to call them? And nice white lines all over the entire figure. So very, very cool turret mode. Not a lot of details to show because a lot of them are carried over from the robot mode. So that's pretty much it for the turret mode. Let's get into my final thoughts. So for my final thoughts of the figure, I think overall it's a pretty good figure. It is just a repaint, of course, but I think overall I really do like the white outlinings. It kind of gives me the glow-in-the-dark sort of blueprint vibe. I think it's really, really cool. You know, the reformatting concept is pretty hard. You know, it's kind of a niche sort of figure. Some people will like it, some people won't. You know, he never even does transform in the movie, so honestly, this is sort of kind of a concept, of course. He doesn't never transform into the turrets in reformatting mode, or whatever you want to call it, in the movie, so it's kind of hard to say what his reformatting tank or turret would look like. Who knows, but this is just the best guess we got. I think overall it's pretty cool. Again, some people might like it, some people won't. I like the turret mode, really do like the nice pink for the barrel. The rest is, you know, pretty simple, just all dark purple and some white lines here and there. I think it looks pretty cool. Transformation's pretty simple, because of course this is the third version of the mold, and if you have the other two, you know exactly what you're gonna do. And the robot mode I really do like. Love the nice kind of glossy shine on the face, like the nice white eyes, and I really do like the nice Decepticon symbol. The white lines all over look really cool. It makes the purple pop, and of course, and it does add some kind of contrast to the figure. It makes it look like that it's just not just one straight purple figure, and it's just kind of like a blob. You know, it adds more to it, and it makes it more of a, you know, different figure that is, you know, that would pop out more in the collection. That's what I'm trying to say. But overall, a very good figure. Highly recommend. Of course, this is a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. I think it's not official. Just I've looked on Amazon, it's not there. I've looked on like Target and other fan sites, they're not there. So I'm assuming the only place you can get it, of course, is eBay and Hasbro Pulse. I've looked on eBay. It's super overpriced. So for you, if you want this figure, best bet is just watch Hasbro Pulse as much as you can. If you're outside the United States, then I'm not really sure what to tell you. Maybe there are some, you know, UK and Canada sites that could have it, who knows, but just good luck if you want this. I think it's a pretty good figure. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Which one do you like the most, the Selects version, the Kingdom version, or this version? And I think that's it, so I'll see you next time.